Hey everyone, I am so excited to be here today to sit down with the one and only Fenella Fudge, who provided the voice talent for the Inkwell Chronicles Book 1, The Ink of Elspet. And I'm so thrilled that she's willing to talk to us today. I'm going to give away a couple copies of the audiobook after we're done. And so if you are interested in having a chance to win that, you can just like this post. And if you want an extra chance to win it, then just repost it and tag me in it, and you'll get even more chances to win. But Fenella, I'm just thrilled that you were willing to sit down and talk. I don't often get to speak with the narrator voice. So thank you for doing this.
Oh, pleasure. It's an absolute delight to meet you. You know, I lived and breathed your first book without knowing anything about you, obviously.
Yes.
And when I was hunted down through the internet to find me to do the second book, I was absolutely made up, because it's wonderful to follow the story. They're just such great stories,
stories. I think it's fascinating for readers to get the chance to meet the person behind the voices. And, right away when my publisher played a little snippet of your voice for me, I was like, that's the voice that we need. And, I have to say, even your name sold me, because I'm going, that is the perfect name for narrating a children's book. When did you know that you were good at doing voices?
All my life. I mean, literally all my life. And I don't just do voices, I do animal noises. I mean, I literally do anything. I'm currently working on a series where all I do is animal noises. And to show you how true this is all my life, if my father and I were in a crowd when I was little and we lost each other, and everybody would go, "Dad, Mum, Dad, Mum," my dad would bark and I'd bark back, and we'd find each other instantly. So I honestly,
that is excellent. That's brilliant.
I said, I was born to do this, and people looked at me and I said, no, really, I was born to do this. I've done this all my life.
I love it. So obviously a book is very different from doing voice characters. And
yes.
And I know that this one, I think, clocks in at about 9.5 hours or something like
yes.
that. So tell me a little bit about your process to record something that long.
For me, I'll just go in the studio with as much time as I've got. I might do half an hour. I might do 3 hours. I might do 6 hours. But I mean, obviously you'll break off during 6 hours. But your voice will start to get tired, and you'll hear it. And the golden rule is that you mustn't let the energy drop. And obviously your books are very high energy. It's adventure non-stop. So I won't work when I'm really tired. You have to be on it, especially doing an adventure story, because you've got to keep the energy up. The only thing you've got to look after over and above everything is your voice. You cannot sustain 9 hours of reading flat out without looking after your voice. And that is water, 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 and more water.
Right.
You've got to keep your vocal folds, which are this sort of S-shaped thing about there. You've got to keep them lovely and moist, or they will not work for you.
Yeah. How do you go about coming up with your different characters and keeping them distinct when you're reading multiple voices all at the same time?
Certainly with your book, now that yesterday I finished the second one, so it's done, it's recorded. Right. So with that, obviously I knew the characters already, and I had to remember them. There were only a couple that I had to go back and listen and think, what on earth voice did I give that person? Obviously, with one of the conductor, I felt he was Scottish. I can't remember if it says at the start of the first book that he's Scottish, but I very much felt that Scottish suited him.
Yeah.
Vicar's quite an obvious voice. His housekeeper is quite an obvious voice. She too was Scottish, but a much sort of colder and what we call dour. Right. I don't know if you know the word dour. It's quite cold, distant, which she was initially, and then she was slightly different character in the second book. Not giving anything away. I can see them as I'm doing them. So wherever they are, I've got a group of people around the table. Say they're in the pub, they're around the table, and I can see them talking to each other. For example, Ronald in his tweed, and I see Ronald and Jack very clearly, and I never get them muddled up.
Right.
You've picked good names as well, because Ronald is a kind of quite a formal English name, so he has an English accent. Jack is quite a northern name, so he has a northern accent. It goes
right.
So you once you know your books, you fall into those characters fairly automatically. And the differentiation between B, who's younger than her brother, again, it's not a problem. It's just an age thing.
Sure.
In the new book, of course, I had the dove with the ridiculously high voice. It's your voice, and it's ridiculous because B is quite high already. Because she
Right.
talks like that, so she's got a very high voice. But then you've got the dove who technically, I guess, needed to be even higher, which was really quite entertaining.
That's when you get the helium balloon and
Exactly that. I think
inhale.
you described him as having a voice like a helium balloon, which
Right.
really helps me.
So I'm also curious about the narrator, because is that a voice that you think of in your head as a character, or are you just reading as yourself when you're the narrator? Because to me, that carries the bulk of the book, and you really, I think, embodied that really well.
What a great question. I have never thought about that as whether I'm a character or me. I guess it's me. I guess it's me. I guess it's me telling the story.
Yeah.
I'm you, obviously. I'm being
Right.
you. So, but the thing is I must be as absorbed in the story as I want my listener to be. One thing that everybody will tell you when you start to be a voice, especially in radio, they tell you this. The key thing is to talk to one person. But I thought that's not enough, because it really isn't enough. Who is this person? So the way I've developed it in my training is that the one person that you're talking to is someone that you really like, and you really want them to have that information. So I'm always talking to you as if I can't wait to tell you the story, and that I really think you're going to be interested in it. So it's not a sort of slightly haughty, removed from the audience. I'm in the story with you as much as I can be. I mean, sometimes I have to change it slightly, because essentially I'm really partial to the goodies in your story. But I'll let my voice go into a slightly minor key when we're in blotter territory, and it's the blotters fighting amongst themselves, and the Scarabess in the new book.
Right.
These really horrific, deeply dark characters. Then I'll go into a much more. I'll go into a minor key, as it were, because the music our voice, which is called prosody, varies in who we're talking to. Like now, I'm being quite warm and smiley, but I could also sound quite cynical and a bit dark towards you.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
written this book, I suppose you think it's a good book, do you? It's not that great. Who do you think you are? You can completely change the way your voice is telling a story.
I was surprised at how much you caught the inflection that I would have wanted you to. When I first was hearing this in my head, I was hearing, I don't know if you would remember the name Sebastian Cabot. He was the narrator for the original Winnie the Pooh Disney TV shows.
Oh God,
he was also
yes, I know exactly who it is. Yeah.
He was also like the butler, I think, on a show called Family Affair. And he had just this warmth to him that I thought was that was what I was hearing in my head. And so then to switch to a female voice, I really did want to have sort of that same warmth, and I just felt like there was no edge to your tone that just made it really ideal for the story. So no, I just hit it perfectly.
Oh, that is amazing to hear. No, it's the key, and the other thing with children's fiction, it is so important not in any way to be patronizing. It's very easy to tell a story, especially to that age group, where you start to talk down a bit, and your stories never talk down, and they shouldn't talk down.
Are you doing multiple takes? Are you a one take wonder? How do you go through it, generally speaking? How much, if it's 9 hours at the end, how many hours does that take you in the process?
That very much depends on the book, and also because no narrator is a robot. You'll have good days and bad days where you can get 2 words out, stumble, 2 words out, stumble. You have no idea what your voice is going to do to you during the day. So I would say on a really good day, it takes about an hour, will take about an hour and a half. But on a bad day, an hour is going to take 2 hours. Sometimes it'll take more, and sometimes you'll go back because you'll suddenly think, I've just thought of a better voice for that character, and you'll go back and find all those bits and replace them.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'll do a line and I think, that's not right, and I'll redo it. I will never just leave something. If I know I'm not happy with it, I will redo it.
Yeah.
But obviously there'll be things I'll miss, and and you always, when you've gone through a book, the proofer will come back with things you haven't even noticed. Sometimes you'll read a word wrong and you think, how extraordinary, I just didn't see that at the time.
Well, I think you do just a brilliant job, and I am so looking forward to hearing book 2. I haven't even heard that yet, obviously. And
I only finished it yesterday, yes.
That's just amazing. I can't wait. And so thank you so much for taking the time to just talk a little bit about it. I'm really looking forward to having it be out there in the world for more people to discover. And I just want to encourage people, if you're interested in hearing more of Fenella's work, you can just like this post or just go out and buy it, really. Buy copies for all your friends.
These 2 books have been the most fun I've had doing audiobooks. I can't thank you enough.
Oh, well, that means a lot. And I just am so thrilled with the work that you've done, and can't wait to hear the rest of it. Thanks so much. Have a great rest of your evening.
Thank you, and to you. Cheers. Bye, JD.